Hi, and welcome to Journey Forward with Jory Rose, where you will gain insights, tools, and inspiration to get unstuck and live your best life. Jory is a licensed marriage and family therapist with a passion for helping people cultivate awareness and authenticity so they can show up fully in all aspects of their life. And now, here's Jory.
Hey everyone, it's Jory Rose. Welcome to the 99th episode of the Journey Forward with Jory Rose podcast. I'm so excited to bring you an interview that I've actually been holding on to since pre-COVID, since we kind of got derailed with some of the intentions for the podcast, going to some more teaching. And now I'm excited to get back to some really great interviews. Like I said, this was done pre-COVID, but nonetheless as relevant now more than ever in how to get out of our own ways to really live in our potential and our alignment. I also wanted to invite you to check out the show notes. I have some really great new offers in conjunction with my new book, A Year of Gratitude, which is officially on sale. Best to check out either the link in the show notes or looking it up on Amazon. But I wanted to share with you that I have recorded all 15 meditations that I outline in the book. And if you would like to be guided in that practice, you can check it out for a small fee. And to get started, I offer you the gratitude meditation. So check out the link in the show notes if you're interested. And I hope you enjoyed today's conversation. Take care and be well. Talk with you soon.
Thanks for tuning in today because I'm really looking forward to talking with Lilia Navarrete. I totally could not pronounce the beautiful last name you have. So please let our listeners hear your last name and your beautiful Spanish rolling R's that I cannot do whatsoever.
Yes, it's Lilia Navarrete. I
can
do that.
So beautiful. I can't do that. I'm jealous. Lilia, thank you so much for coming on today as a guest. And we met last year at a conference, and I actually believe it was really towards the end of the conference that we connected. And you were one of those people that I kept seeing throughout the conference and thinking, I really want to connect with her. Her energy kept drawing me in. And so I'm really excited to be talking with you today. So please tell our listeners more about you and what it is that you do.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm excited as well. So I'm a transformational business coach for female entrepreneurs, service-based female entrepreneurs, small business owners. So think coaches, consultants, service providers, anybody who's earning their wages with their gifts, talents, and expertise. And I really help them with their mindset. So I help them with their beliefs work so that they can either create a high level, a high-end offer, or just simply become more successful in their businesses.
I absolutely love it. And there was so much in there that you said that I could start asking you about. But I really am curious, how did you get to this work?
Yeah, love the story. So it is a long story. I'm going to try to make it short.
We've got plenty of time. Make it as long as you like.
I can take out a whole hour talking about that. But a shorter version of it would be that I was working in a corporate environment. I actually worked as a foreign exchange trader for a Canadian company in New York. And I worked for them for 2.5 years. And long story short, I was miserable. I was getting really sick because it's a very stressful job. It's a job that requires you sitting in front of a computer all the time and, volatile markets, you handling money, dealing with money. So a lot of stress. And at some point I was realizing that I was gaining weight. I was getting really, really, really sick. I was absolutely miserable. And
sounds like complete out of alignment in your mind, body, and spirit.
Yes. Yeah, now I know that.
Now you know.
Back then I was like, what's going on? And I remember I told my husband there was a moment for me when I was just sitting down in the office and I was like, oh my God, if this is what I'm supposed to do till I retire, like for the next 50 years, shoot me in my head, it's horrible. It was like that. And like the breaking moment for me was when my husband was speaking with his mom, my mom-in-law, and she just casually noticed that I gained weight. And I was like, it was like a wake-up moment. My mother-in-law told me that I casually mentioned that I gained weight. Yeah, and I just got on a health journey. I hired a personal trainer. I got really into food, into all of this elimination diets, and I just got really into that. And simultaneously, I was miserable at my job. So I kept asking myself a question: what do I want to do? What do I want to do? What do I want to do? What do I want to do in this life? Because somewhere, like, there's a seed. I'm so grateful to that seed, because there's somewhere like a little seed within me. Some part of me knew that if there are people who are doing what they love on this planet and make money, then possibly I can too. So I wasn't one of those people who are like, no, you just have to suck it up, and your job sucks and that's okay, and you'll do it for the rest of your life.
Which so many people do.
Yes, so many people do. I wasn't that person. So I'm really grateful that I had that little seed in me that said, no, I can actually, do something I love and make money with it. I just did. I was one of those people, I didn't know what to do. I was
and that's the key. I think so many people see others doing it and they say, they can see that it's possible.
Yeah.
But don't know necessarily how to bring that into their own lives.
Yeah, coach.
There you go. Bring here, enter Lilia.
Yeah, it's not my niche or not my expertise. I know a very good coach who does that. But back then, I just didn't know. I didn't even know about the concept of coaching. I had no idea about all this self-development book. And that was in 2016, by the way. So it's not even that long ago.
Oh, okay. I was curious how long ago this was. So 2016.
2016. Yeah, I had no idea. So I was looking for something like this, and actually the first ever self-development course that I took was in time management, because when I got into sports and all of this, and diets and food and just all of this stuff, I was so busy with work and gym and this and that. I was so busy. I felt like it was my fault that I didn't have enough time. Like I didn't know how to manage my time, which is a complete yes, because then you start figuring out about values and priorities and and all of this stuff. That was one of the first self-development courses that I've ever taken. So
and needless to say, it was totally life-changing.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, it was such a for me right now, it's like such a basic, it's like self-development 101, it's like such a basic course that I took. But for me, it was like, oh my God, values.
But what I love about that, if you've been on a certain trajectory, you may never come across those tools.
No.
Right?
No.
Like they're not teaching you that in business school. They're not teaching you that in the financial world. It's so linear and so driven in the end goal. You forget about, what about the process?
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, don't even get me started on that. I mean, it feels like, especially since I'm a business coach, so I'm a lot, I work a lot with entrepreneurs, and sometimes I think, well, not what I think, what I see with clients is that we're so hung up on the strategy, the marketing, the business tools of it. But what I like to say to my people is that business essentially is an extension of you. It's like a third arm. So first, you come first. And it's not just about boundaries and eating well and all the rest of things. It's about your mind, your mindset. Then I go to them and, we start discovering beliefs and all of that. Like, it's about you, because if you are not in the right place, if you're not aligned, then your business is going to be misaligned, or your business is going to be okay.
I completely not only agree with it, but I see it for myself, for my own clients. You could be doing all the right things, but if this other major piece is out of alignment, it always feels like you're up against these roadblocks. And then it's easy to feel like the new mindset is, oh, the universe just doesn't have my back. The universe is telling me I shouldn't be doing this, or I'm not good enough for this, or whatever a whole nother line of thinking might turn out to be.
Yeah. It's like, don't trust your thoughts.
Right. Yeah,
don't trust your thoughts. They're probably wrong.
We know from having a negativity bias that our mind produces between 50 and 70,000 thoughts a day.
Yeah.
And because of our negativity bias, the majority of those thoughts are going to be negative. And yet because of our habits and patterns, we believe them.
Yeah. Yes. That's why when, there's a lot of mindset coaching, that's why I know it's like we say it mindset because it's very understandable. At least it's, it's like people know what mindset is, but truly when you talk about beliefs, it's not really mindset, it's subconscious mind. It's a bit different. So when we talk about mindset work and people just tell you, well, just change your thoughts. Well, how do you change 70,000 thoughts? Like, it's impossible to control. You got to change something that causes you to think those thoughts. Right. And those are the beliefs, right? And so, like, switch that and the thoughts will change. You don't need to control it. So once I remember when I started this journey, my mentor used to say, it's like, this kind of work is you becoming different without you having to remember to be different. And that gives you such a freedom, right? You become a different person. You act differently, but you don't have to think about it. Oh, I have to do all of these things now in order to get this result. How about just switching, doing that work, switching your beliefs completely, and then you just wake up a different person. It's beautiful.
Which even in of itself is so not that easy. And I find, because what I find too, and tell me how you deal with this with your clients, is some of those belief systems that keep us stuck, that make it hard to make that shift, right, are so deeply ingrained in our family stories, in our transgenerational traumas. Like, to let it go is to really shift out of a paradigm that you've likely been well ingrained in.
Yes, I absolutely agree. And I usually tell people, or what I find, there's two things I want to say before I go into this, because I think it's really important. Because the more I work with people, the more I find people who are scared of this kind of work. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to address that, because it is a courageous work.
It is.
So it requires you to be vulnerable, like really raw. And it requires you to really just put your guard down and trust the person who you work with. So it's important to understand that it's not like a walk in the park type of a work.
Well,
so
no transformational experience is going to be. I remember when I was getting most unstuck in my life, when I was in therapy for 5 years, I remember my therapist telling me, he said, birth is painful and so is rebirth.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah.
And great. How could any major change not come without a lot of pain?
I completely agree. I think it's like, I remember one of my VIP clients, she was just like, it seems like we just dig out a lot of dirt and we just put it all on the table and now we're cleaning it out. So it's like, and I like to say it, instead of putting a Band-Aid, we gotta cut the wound. It's going to be painful and it's going to be messy, but then it's going to heal and you're going to feel a lot better. But I also want to say, at least from what I've seen, in the industry as well, it also depends on the practitioner and depends on the method as well, because there are some practitioners, there's something that I've experienced which I didn't like at all, and I have some people who I've talked to who've gone through this kind of things, is when there are some modalities where people are kind of they kind of just get into your mess, into your trauma, let's put it this way, and then kind of leave you there. And I don't think that's a very nice way to do it, and it's not really
and it feels unethical, right? And unskillful.
Exactly.
I feel like there's a lot of risk you could potentially enter somebody into if you're not carefully holding that container for them.
Exactly. And then I think it's a really important, I love how you said it's not really skillful or not really ethical to just leave them there, because there are other processes of how you can, you get them there, we got the work done, but then people out to a nice place, because it's intense. It's an intense work. So I also want to urge everybody who's listening and watching this later down the road is find a good person or a recommended person to make sure that nobody is leaving you in that dirt, because it's not really nice. But other than that,
can I ask one question about that? Can I ask one question? It would seem to me the really skillful coach in that way is someone who has truly gone through that journey themselves. Do you come across colleagues who are guiding people in a process that they've never gone through?
I don't necessarily know if, just from a coaching perspective, I have been a part of coaching programs and hired coaches who were completely out of integrity. And there was a reason why I switched from just kind of transformational niche to business niche, because I was just getting such out of integrity service, and I was like, this is BS. Like, this is it's just bad. It's bad. So yes, I've come across bad coaching, so to speak, or unskillful coaching, and kind of empty promises. I don't know if if I've seen transformational work done for someone who hasn't gotten through some kind of transformative experience in their life, but I've definitely come across practitioners who use this approach when they just kind of leave you in the dirt. And I've seen people who were in the dirt, and I was like, oh my dear Lord, this is really bad. And I've seen people who witnessed that, and then they were like, I don't want to do that. I was like, I don't blame you.
Right. That would not inspire a whole lot of confidence if it were me.
No, it's like, oh my God, if everybody felt bad for this woman who did that. And I was like, this is so, like, it's just not, you actually might need to go see a therapist down the road because somebody just dropped you into that.
Well,
so
it feels like a trauma almost.
Yeah. So there's two things. First, I think that everybody needs to go through this type of work. And second, make sure that you find the right practitioner to do this with, because an ethical practitioner. And you will, I feel like a person, so that's why I always tell people, have conversations with different practitioners, go find breakthrough sessions with one coach, another coach, a therapist, somebody else, to see and to feel, because you feel that energetically, like you feel the match when you feel it. So I always urge people to go and speak to multiple coaches to see what or therapists or practitioners to see what feels the most aligned.
Well, and it's interesting. I remember once reading a quote having to pertain to the success rate of therapy. And I'm not going to say it verbatim, but it was something to the effect of, if you believed this person could help you, the success of the therapy goes way up. So you have to have that, instinctual belief of, I trust this person to take me on this journey. I trust this person to give me the tools that I need to break down those barriers so I can rebuild that piece of myself. And if they don't have that trust, you could be the best coach or the best therapist in the world, but if they don't believe it, it's not going to matter.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I wouldn't even argue. That's true.
Yeah. And so I think you're right. It's really helpful to make sure you have the right fit, because sometimes it's just going to organically not always align.
No, it won't. Yeah. It doesn't matter how, at this point, it doesn't matter how many, how successful the coach or practitioner is, or, how great the testimonials are, how great things are. It's really, especially for this kind of work. For this kind of work, you really need to experience the work a little bit yourself. And during a conversation, that's usually what happens. You'll still get a little bit of an experience, and then it'll just feel good. Would you be scared, to invest or do anything like that? I mean, we'll all go through this kind of things, right? It's a different story. It's rather, how do you feel energetically when you're having this conversation? So it's important to have as many as possible so you can find the aligned fit. I feel like
absolutely. So you work so much with mindset and belief. So can you give me some idea of what it is that you do to get people to even understand what their current mindsets and beliefs are?
I mean, there are like techniques, exercises, sequences, right, that you use. But generally, I think that what I do a lot is just ask a lot of questions. They're very specific questions, and then you just ask a lot of questions, because what I find a bit unhelpful in the coaching industry is when advice is given without having to have any kind of a background of what's happening. So when I was, when I finally found the coaching career for myself, my mentor said that we absolutely, as good coaching practitioners, we absolutely need to get on another person's map. Right? So we all think differently about the world, the universe, about people, because we all have different sets of beliefs. So in order for me to understand and be able to help a client powerfully, I need to make sure that I step out of my map and onto their map and see, hear, feel things how they do. And that's very important, because otherwise they're just coming up with things. Or
I love that visual. I'm a very visual person, and I can literally envision the embodiment of getting out of your own map and into somebody else's. So you're seeing it from the same vantage point, the same viewpoint.
Yeah. Because otherwise I can't help them. I start making assumptions or give advice based on my experiences, based on my beliefs, based on and it might have nothing to do with what they're dealing at all. And you'll be surprised. I mean, you probably won't, but it's surprisingly powerful how just a couple of questions, it could be even the same question. It could be one question, why? I love the why, why do you want this? And why do you want that? And what would that give you? And why is that important? And why is this important? And then just the same question in a matter of 10 minutes or less than that can get people to such depths of what's actually going on that it blows their mind. But we're not asking enough questions. We like to, in the coaching industry, we love to give advice. We love to give, to just tell people what to do. And that's why in the long term, things don't work for people. That's why we got obstacles. That's why I see people stuck and just kind of like doing the same thing over and over again. And very often my clients complain that they go from one coach, another coach, program. And the most common complaint that I hear right now is that I feel like I'm not understood. I feel like nobody understands me, or I feel like I'm not being heard. I'm speaking, people are giving me advice, and then nothing is working, and nobody understands why it's not working.
And I think as humans, that's one of our biggest desires, is just to feel seen and heard and validated. And so how frustrating to be paying money for a coach who's claiming to see things from our point of view, and yet to still not feel seen or heard.
Exactly. I found myself in the situation several times, and granted, I know the powerful work. So I know the work that really gets me unstuck and moving me forward. So I know what practitioner to look for. So I have this kind of advantage, so to speak. So if I speak to a coach, or if I find a practitioner, that I know what I'm looking for. But I feel like it's extremely powerful. We underestimate that a lot. But it is so powerful when you come to a coach and you say, this is what I want. And there's a part of me that understands that I can have it, or at least some part of me understands that I can have it, or wants to believe that I can have it. And having a coach who says, yes, you absolutely can. In fact, I absolutely believe that you can have what you want exactly how you want it. We just have to figure out, all the background, and the how is the different question. But yes, and I feel like a lot of coaches are just go and say, no, this is not possible. You'd be better off doing this. Or you'd be better off doing that. But how do you even know?
And I love that, because, to me, one of the things that I often say to my clients is, what if the roadblock is really just a speed bump? Like, what if the thing we thought is the universe trying to tell us, no, you're not supposed to have that, is really just an opportunity to pause and slow down and maybe recalibrate, maybe think, I'm working so hard on this one path, let's not try harder, so it's time to try different. But yet I believe some of those belief systems are like, oh, this seems too hard, I can't do it.
Yes. Oh, that's I love working on that. I've kind of overcome, but we can never really overcome, right? Every single go further, we hit the same beliefs patterns. It's like, because it's cyclical. Right. I like the metaphor of a mountain. It's like, I overcame the belief of struggle, and then I grew, like walked around the mountain. Oh, here it is again. Just coming up in a different, with a different path about it. But I will say this with wholeheartedly right now, that it is never about working harder. Can we just let it go? I feel that this culture is ingrained with this belief, or this belief is ingrained so deeply into the culture, especially of entrepreneurship. And I understand how, because I've gotten into the same trap, so to speak. You see people everywhere who are successful people, quote unquote, they're all working hard. So you automatically feel like, is this even possible? Right? Is the other way even possible? Because it seems like what I'm seeing is all that. But here's the trick, which I absolutely love. So what I tell my clients is, what you believe, right, what your core beliefs are, is technically, or what you believe about the world, about people, and about yourself, is what you're going to see. So if you believe that you've got to work hard, or your core belief is that, then you're going to see circumstances, people, anything that will prove to you that belief, because that's how things work.
Right, because that's the confirmation bias. It's almost like you're looking for the evidence to support the belief, so you can further say, see, I told myself this was correct, because look at all this evidence I've just mounted up to say, oh, this is why I can't do this, or this is why I am the way I am.
Precisely. So just because you want to believe And this is very different. Like, this is one of the core concepts I also want people to know, because I feel like sometimes we're getting so carried away with mindset is like, oh, you just have to journal on it, or you just have to meditate on it, or you just have to, write it down or manifest it, or affirmations. And I want to tell people that I've gotten so many clients who get really frustrated because they do it, and things are just not working. And I love to explain to them that it's not just the mindset, right? This core belief has to be unwired. It's like a knot. It has to be untied, and then something else has to be introduced. And then when that something else, a positive belief, is being introduced, then you go and take different actions that are aligned with this belief.
I love that.
But when you try to take different actions, and you have a core belief that's the opposite, it's not going to work. That's why, that's why there's so many people who we're all trying, we're all meditating, we're all journaling, we're all writing affirmations. But why is it like working for one person, not working for another person? Right? So
yeah, and then we get that comparison mind going too. And then we start to think like, I even posted about it on Facebook the other day around, it's so easy to feel like you're running somebody else's race. And to recognize, if I look at all the other people who are doing the, similar kind of work that I'm doing, I've got to recognize I'm only running my own race. But if I get too much into comparison mind, it's going to trigger a negative belief system, taking me out of alignment, and it's hard to do. And one of the things that I wanted to comment on that you had said, and it made me think about teenagers. Like, if we could just ingrain them in this mindset from a really young age of it's not just try harder, because I have some teenage clients and I've got 2 teenage daughters myself. And just this past weekend, we were looking at colleges, and we're a little bit early on the college tours. She's in 10th grade, but it's on our minds that this is, what we've got to plan for. And so many parents are of the belief to just push to the complete detriment of what's right for the kid. And I wonder where some of these belief systems that people have later in life got ingrained from their parents around just try harder. Like where does it start?
Well, so technically, if we talk about like genetics and neuroscience, right, our subconscious mind develops from the time when we're in our mom's womb all the way to 7 years old. That's the subconscious mind. And so it's like your blank piece of paper, and your primary caretaker, so your grandparents, your parents, aunts, uncles, etc., until you're 7 years of age, they just come in and they write whatever they want on this piece of paper. And at 7 years old, it's going to get sealed, and that's what you are set off to the world. That's when conscious mind really starts developing, right? So it is absolutely ingrained from our families and primary caretakers. And I also love to tell people, because sometimes, we have this notion that, oh my gosh, it has to be like this one big belief that's, work hard. It is, yeah, if your family, if you come from a family of hardworking people, and that was just the notion. But what I also want people to understand, that it could be something like this. It could be, let's imagine just a child who is 2 years old, right? And when we're 2 years old, our mother is everything for us. Like, it's the entire world. It's the safety, the love, the belonging. It's everything, right? So imagine the situation, you're 2 years old, or there's a 2-year-old child, and, she sees her mom coming to her, about to hug her. And it's like, the moment in her life when she's so happy and she's about to get hugged, and then the phone rings. And so mom turns away and picks up the phone. And the 2-year-old with a 2-year-old brain at that moment makes a decision. Oh my God, my mom was just about to hug me. My entire world was just about to take me. And then she turned away. And then at that moment, we could make something like, it means that I'm not important, or I'm not as
lovable.
important.
I'm not worthy.
Yeah, and that is it. That's it. You make the decision at 2-year-old that you're not lovable or not that important, or it might be your fault, or you did something wrong, so that you are wrong. So we make that conclusion. It gets recorded. I call it in my work a belief imprint, right? When it happens for the first time, it gets recorded. It creates the feelings, right? The feelings of anxiety, maybe sadness, maybe something else. And then with that, it gets carried away through your entire life. And that is a core belief. So that's something that's ingrained within you. When we have that core belief that was formed when you're a 2-year-old, it's important to understand that just introducing a mindset reframe for an adult is not going to work. So within my practice, what I do is we have to go back to the 2-year-old and we have to introduce the reframe for a 2-year-old to make the change. Because if you just introduce a reframe like, well, you are lovable, look at all of these, all of this confirmation that you are, but within, from that 2-year-old, it's like when you misaligned, when you understand with your brain, yes, but it's not connected to your body, right? So introducing a reframe within the 2-year-old then, so that she can make this different distinction, so that she can make this reframe and understand at her 2-year-old that, oh yes, it's wrong, right? It's this what
right. It's not that I'm unlovable. It's just that the phone rang.
Yeah. Exactly. So it's introducing it at that age. And then one of the things that I do with my clients is I grow them on their line of life back to where they are. So that fully integrates. That's what creates this, I'm now different without having to remember to be different. Something switched, shifted. I don't know what, but I feel different. And that's what we call quantum leaps, right? Because you shifted something. It no longer is a block. It's never going to be a block again if you now take aligned actions aligned with this new belief. And so you seal that change, right? You seal that change. But the actions are now easier to take. So instead of hard work and push and strive, it just feels different. And so going back to your question about beliefs and like how long does it take to do that and what kind of work it is, it's like, I like to say it's like peeling an onion, right? It's peeling layers, because we might not get on the first session, on the second session to, your 2-year-old memory of that belief, right? What we might get to is we might peel off some other beliefs that are more present right now. And as we peel the onion, we finally get to that core thing, right? So we finally find it, we eliminate it, and that might happen for some people depending on where they are within the journey. It might take, 90 minutes, completely change their life. I was like, what? I mean, it's great. And then some people, it took 3 months, and for some people it took 6 months. You never know where you are, right? And how much of stuff and peeling.
It's amazing. And I've had those experiences where sometimes the simplest reframe like unveiled everything.
Yeah.
It can be really huge. And so, if someone, who's listening right now is thinking like, my gosh, I need this, right? Like, I love to remind people that this kind of growth, this kind of change is possible. It's really, really possible. It's going to take work. But I see so many people who stay stuck, and so many people who think, oh, that works for other people, not me. And one of my favorite questions to ask is, how is staying stuck serving you?
Yeah.
And, the immediate answer is always, oh, it's not serving me. This is horrible. I hate this. But yet staying stuck gives you an identity. It's familiar. It gives you a set of patterns that even if you don't like the outcome, you know what you're doing. So once we can have understanding that you've been served by staying stuck in some capacity, but yet it's not allowing you to reach whether it's a higher goal, a higher purpose, better alignment, health, whatever your why is, right? Whatever is driving that. But it's such everything is so intertwined. It's sometimes hard to pinpoint, which is going to be the one thing to help lead someone down a different path.
Yeah, I mean, my only answer here is I could not agree more with you. The only answer is this: it works for everybody. This work works for everybody, and you can absolutely change everything in your life. And another thing that I like to tell my clients is that understand that a core belief is an identity belief. So that 2-year-old example, I'm not lovable, that's an identity belief. It's I am not lovable. So I like to tell my clients that imagine a tree, and your core beliefs, identity beliefs, are roots. And then business, health, relationship, career, spirituality, that's all areas of our lives. And I urge you, if you have a problem in one area, I guarantee you there are similar patterns in all other areas. They might not manifest the same way, but it all stems down from identity belief anyway. And we all have core identity beliefs. And so to me, it's like, working in business, I want to make more money. I want to get to the next level. I want to, double my income, triple my income. I love talking to women about charging what their services are truly worth. So I am all for us. I think that we are massively undercharging. So I love working with my clients on double, tripling, quadrupling their prices, creating high-level offers, especially those who have unique talents and unique expertise that are really transformational. And when we start talking about money, is it possible for me to charge, to charge for my work $100,000 or more than that? And then it's like fear. We have fear in the eyes, and it's crazy, right? And when we start digging deeper into what's not letting you charge more, what's keeping you stuck in this loop of struggle, sacrifice, and hard work to make money, right? What's in it? And it's never the money. It's never truly the money beliefs, right? Once we start digging a bit deeper, it goes into, I'm third child out of children within my family, and I felt like I never belonged. I felt like I was the one person. It was either the two of my older sisters and brothers, and they were kind of like matching up, and they were best friends, or my parents were really, really concerned about my younger kids, and I felt like I never belonged.
Yeah.
So guess what? Now I feel like I don't belong to the successful people's club. I don't belong to people who have success and make money. I feel out of place. And when you carry that for your entire life, how do you want to make money? Or how do you want to make money with ease? It's never going to be with ease, because your core belief is, I don't really belong, right? Or relationship. I feel like if I make a lot of money, the most common scenario that I hear, it's going to somehow ruin my relationship with my husband or with my partner.
Interesting.
Somehow we're going to grow apart. Yeah. It's either, especially when men are concerned, if I'm going to out earn him, he's going to feel like he doesn't really, he's not the man anymore, not the man of the household,
or feel less than a provider or a husband, which is largely around socialization. That's how they've been socialized, right?
Exactly. But then we dug a bit deeper with that specific, and what would that mean? That means that I'm going to be all alone again. And what does that mean? It means that I'm not lovable. And what does that mean? It actually means like I don't have the right to exist. Now we're talking. So it's like, it's not even the relationship with the husband, right? We started with money, you got into the relationship with the husband, and then got to a place, I don't really have to exist in this world. Let's figure out where that came from, because it came from somewhere. And I want all and everybody to understand that it's not an ultimate or the ultimate truth. Mm-hmm. It is saying, it's a meaning. If something happened, it might be something small that happened in your childhood where you made that meaning about your life and about yourself, that I don't have the right to exist.
Yeah.
And all we need to do is just
powerful.
we just have to remove that. I get goosebumps. We have to remove that.
Yeah. I
want people to understand. Yeah, because I had a core belief that something was wrong with me. Like something is wrong. Like I am wrong in some capacity. And when you have this, I'm wrong or something is wrong with me, then, whatever I do is wrong, or however much effort I put in, it still feels like something is off with me. So how can I have the success that I want? I need to let go. I cannot create the business that I want to create and the impact that I want to create if I'm carrying that with me.
Right.
So it's important for, yeah.
I was just going to say, because, some of these things really are rooted so deeply in these layers that you peel back. How do you come up against the challenges of something like chronic pain or illness, or really personality disordered family members that they can't really escape from, things that aren't necessarily mindset or belief related, and people who still want to make the change and feel those barriers?
So the only case that comes to mind, I had a client a while ago, about 2 years ago, and she was dealing with depression particularly. And we did this work and it still helped. But what I think when it comes to, because people can come. I had a client who was like, well, how do I don't think I can forgive my father because my father, blood, like who would do something like that, right, in childhood. And I feel like when you start doing this work, and there's a lot of forgiveness and a lot of release and all of that, but one of the most powerful reframes that I found really helpful for me when I was I didn't have any traumatic experience in my childhood like that, but my parents were really strict and I was beaten at some point. And so I had a little bit of that as well. But the reframe that I would love to offer those people is that imagine, so our parents did the best they could with the resources they had at the moment, point blank.
Absolutely.
So what I like to give is kind of like paint a picture for people like that. I was like, imagine that your father, and there's family work that I do as well, but like with, we do the beliefs, not only like there's a specific sequence to work with family members, but I like to tell them, imagine that your father, he from not a wonderful childhood himself, probably, right? Or your mother or something like that. And so I like to tell people, imagine that your parents, like one parent is holding the door, like with their back really, really hard. And behind that door is all the pain, all the suffering, all the generational suffering that they endured from all the past generations, and it just wants to in and devour you, so to speak. And so your parents, or that particular parent, all they're doing is they trying really hard to keep that door closed. So whatever is left is what you have. So if behind the door the generations had horrific stories, then it's really hard to hold that door. So they barely have any resources themselves to give to you. And I found that reframe really powerful because you work with that, right?
I want to read you something. I want to read you something that I think speaks so powerfully to that. I lead weekly meditation classes. And last week, I offer different sorts of cards to pull, like angel cards or law of attraction cards or positive thought cards. And the one that someone pulled last week said, I see my parents as tiny children who need love.
Yeah.
And on the back it said, I have compassion for my parents.
One of the
on the back of the card it says, I have compassion for my parents' childhoods. I now know I chose them because they were perfect for what I had to learn. I forgive them and set them free, and I set myself free. I think that was so powerful, when we can reframe some of that trauma with compassion and to see them as that 2-year-old or 5-year-old little wounded child rather than the adult who's acting out.
Exactly. That's. I was just going to say the family access that I talked exactly. Part of it is what we do is we imagine the parent at being 2-year-old or 3-year-old, and then we start thinking about. I ask my clients, what do you think might have happened to them? How did they feel? And you might it's crazy because first they say, well, I don't know. Sometimes I don't know what happened in the child, and then when you allow them to really drop deeper, they start remembering things that they might have heard somewhere or just in something like that made a lot of sense of what happened in the childhood. And once they start seeing what their parents have gone through or might have gone through, and they see this 2-year-old, and I let them imagine them wearing the grown-up clothes as well. So it's like, they see it that, and it changes perspective, because the truth of the matter is we're supposed to get that energy that comes from generation. It's supposed to flow into us, the generational energy. And when this work is not being done, it's all messed up, it's blocked. And so you're not being supported through your generations, because there are not only, bad people, quote unquote, right? Let's put it this way, in your family. And so it's supposed to flow to you. And so when it's not, when it's blocked, then that's when we get the burnout and the anxiety and depression and all of these other things, because we're not being fed, so to speak, right? What we're supposed to get.
And so it's no wonder our mindsets and belief becomes challenged to thinking change is possible, or to think that we're worthy of achieving what we want to achieve, or believe that we have the abilities to get us there. It's such powerful work. And I love not only I love your enthusiasm, and I follow you on social media, and I've seen you in person, and your energy, I can tell just how passionate you are in guiding people towards this. Like, it's infectious. Like, it's just, and it's something that once you embody, it's hard not to feel excited about, because you know the possibility is there.
Yeah, it changed my life. This work changed my life. It did change my life in such tremendous way, and it continues changing my life. And I see how I grow. Yeah, I see how I grow and how fast things can happen. And this is another thing that I want to introduce, right? A reframe. It doesn't have to take long. Like, things that you want to have in your life, or in business particularly, it doesn't have to take long. It doesn't have to be a struggle. It doesn't have to be all of these other things that we think that it usually takes. It takes all of this stuff. Not really. And another thing that I'm really passionate about is this. Like, I think that everybody just must do this kind of work if you want to feel better and if you want to get the results fast. But another thing, I feel as leaders, we're also responsible for what we're bringing into this world. Right. And so I see a lot of entrepreneurs or coaches, particularly, who coach other people, or coaches or coaches or people or anything or anybody else. And it's like, if you're not doing this kind of work on yourself, then what you're doing is you're kind of teaching people that the way that you do things, which is a struggle and sacrifice and grind, is the way to go. And then we're never going to make the change. Yeah. It's got to be collective. Like, we've got to do this kind of work, so we can show our clients what's possible and how it's possible, that it's possible in a different way. Yeah. We're not willing to do this kind of work, then we're just teaching people that all of these difficulty things, this is what it takes to do business. That's BS. It doesn't. It really doesn't. And, and I also got to say that, this work changed my life so much, but the best thing, I think, is when you just feel good. Yeah. Is when you do this work and you release all of that and let it go. And yes, of course, there's going to be tears, because you're releasing all of that, but then you just feel good. And this type of work, like, it almost, I felt like home when I first started doing it, when I first started making the change, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe, feel so good. Just by going through this, through the sequences and releasing that, and just, you can feel so peaceful. Yeah. You can feel so good. And that's beautiful.
That's absolutely beautiful. How can people find you if they want to learn more about what you offer and to work with you? What's the best way for someone to, and obviously we'll have these in show notes as well, any links, but what's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
So they can find me on Facebook. So just Lilia Navarrete, Lilia Navarrete. So you can find me on Facebook. You can also find me on Instagram, and that is Nivarrete Lilia Coach. Is it? I'm like, wait a second.
We'll make sure that the correct links are in the show notes.
Yes, it is, in fact. And that's probably the fastest way to find me, and to contact me and send me a DM or a private message or anything like that, and I'll definitely respond. So these are the two most common ways that I get on social, is through Facebook and Instagram.
Fantastic. Lilia, I love the work that you're doing. I see the possibility for so many people to really change their lives for the better. The universe is not hand-picking people to say, I choose for you to be happy, for you not to be happy, for you to stay stuck, for you to thrive, for you to make a lot of money, for you to suffer. Like, the universe is not that personal. They don't really care. Yeah. And, I'm excited for the people who are going to hear this interview today and say, you know what, my mindset or my belief systems have really not served me, and it's time to do something about it. So let's get that undone, and let's, really take those steps forward to the rest of my life, which is really full of possibility.
Absolutely. Amen to that. I mean, yeah.
Amen to that. Yeah. So thank you so much for your time today. And I do look forward to continuing our connection and, supporting each other in this work, because I think that's what it all comes down to as well. Is the more we can support each other through growth and change and possibility, everybody benefits. And that's one of the things I love so much about having this podcast, is it just creates a platform and a forum for conversation that needs to be heard and for people to connect in a way that we otherwise wouldn't have the chance. So I'm deeply humbled to be able to share the space and have you on today. So thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for allowing me to speak about what I think is really important. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Be well.
To continue your journey forward, find Jory Rose on Facebook and Instagram to become part of her growing community. You can also gain access to her meditations, books, online classes, or to sign up for an upcoming retreat, visit her at joryrose.com. That's JOREEROSE.com.